I keep stating it because it is important, but forms in general were not as strictly adhered to during the Romantic period as they were during the Classic period and prior times as well. What forms were common in the Romantic period were generally based on sonata forms, but the exact following of the sonata form was not taken very seriously. It was just used as a starting point. And we also had something that became popular called the symphonic poem. Symphonic poem was basically like a one-movement symphony. So again, it's a instrumental form. It's like a one-movement symphony composition that really tries to express various moods or anything, and basically a one-movement programmatic instrumental piece, where generally the symphony is multi-movement and less about specific moods as much as being more of a absolute music sort of composition. Now the opera and ballet became very, very big. Again, you're trying to make money via people paying to see things. Well, there's no television, so the closest thing you got is plays. And opera and ballet worked right into that, and they were extremely popular things. The show became very, very important, and there was a lot of musical elements that came into being to accompany this. Now, an overture pretty much just kind of gives you a little bit of everything that's getting ready to happen in an opera or ballet. It precedes the start of them, but it'll usually have little pieces of the music that's going to go throughout the piece. So like you have little fragments. It's just kind of introduction of a lot of things. That's generally what an overture or a prelude do. Now, as far as a suite was, well, you can think of it two ways. It's pretty much the way that the orchestra would play for songs or while people are dancing during a ballet. So it could be songs from an opera or dances from a ballet. But sometimes the suite is played without the opera or a ballet, and it's still based on the same thing, just a collection of instrumental versions of the songs that would have been sung or the dance suites. And incidental music is basically just music while you change the set. Not really anything special. If you go to just about any place where there's a change of acts, you hear music anymore on the stereo while you're out going to get a soda or use the restroom or whatever. Well, they didn't have a stereo, so incidental music was more of a nice composition of simple music to just go between changing of scenes. Alright. There are a lot of different little chamber groups, but probably the one that you should know the best is one known for art songs. Okay? And that will be also called the Lied, L-I-E-D, and in plural form, Lieder, L-I-E-D-E-R. I'll probably go over this again in a little bit. But very commonly you would have those sung with just a piano and voice. That's all. And that became a very, very common little chamber group. Now, addition to that, you also had the basic string quartets, string quintets, all the same little chamber groups that were pretty much popular during the Classic period. Just little changes here and there. Again, without television or radio or movies or anything like that, opera, which combined music, poetry, drama, and visual effects, had a huge effect on the 19th century and became an important part of the Romantic expression. So the composers really were trying to express themselves through all of the elements that were available to them in opera. It was massively popular in many parts of the world. The United States was one of the places where it was very popular. Europe, obviously. Italy, Italian opera is still considered one of the big deals, but France, Germany, Italy, I already said U.S. Some of the top composers of the time are Verdi, Wagner, who we'll talk about later, Rossini, Puccini, and Richard, not Richard, Richard Strauss. Now, a couple other things, not on this PowerPoint, but kind of important. There's a couple different type of opera experiences. One is the grand opera. Now, grand opera is very much serious opera, usually having to do with something like a Shakespearean play put to music, some Greek mythology put to music, a little more elaborate and not usually very silly. It had a very set and complex plot. There's also opera buffa, B-U-F-F-A. Now, that was generally a lighter opera, often smaller orchestra and fewer people involved, but it was kind of comical a lot of times, and when not comical, it was satirical. That was your closest thing you had to a Howard Stern at the time. You could be silly, but it was still done in an artistic way. So the grand opera was the more serious approach to opera. The opera buffa, kind of the silly opera. And another important item, write this one down. The term libretto, L-I-B-R-E-T-T-O. Again, L-I-B-R-E-T-T-O. Libretto is the actual words to an opera. Not just, it's not some guy, it's not the guy who wrote it, it is the text. The libretto is the text of an opera.